the month, and this meeting will be a Zoom video meeting due to the corona pandemic.
Thank you very much, Colleen. So I'd like to start the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Once again, a moment of silence for our brave men and women fighting all over the world for democracy and freedom, especially those first responders, everybody in the front lines for the COVID. So we appreciate that. And thank you, Chief, for everything that you guys do with the police department. Appreciate it. So I'd like to make an amendment that just came up to the agenda for new business for the town board meeting on December the 28th. So somebody make a motion to amend the agenda to add to new business December the 28th town board meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Any a second?
Second.
Alan, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None being said. I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? None being said, so moved. Motion to approve minutes from the October 26, 2020 town board meeting. I need a motion to approve that.
So move. Motion.
Howard, second.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you, Danielle. Great job, as always.
You're welcome.
Authorize the payment of bills in the amount of $110,440.91. I need a motion to pay the bills.
Make that motion.
I need a
I'll
second.
second.
Okay,
That one. Doesn't matter.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None being said. Thank you, gentlemen. Any comments on the agenda? None being said, I'd like to move on. There are no presentations this evening. So we will go to the report of departments and boards. My report, and so is the report from 2020 Supervisor Lanzetta. Attended virtual police reform Zoom meeting. We'll discuss that with Howard and the chief. Later on, met with Mike Wilson, Highway Department Union Legal Rep with Councilman Corcoran to sign Highway Department labor contract. So that's done. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Met with Chief Kokoza and Councilman Corcoran to review final police department labor contract. Now that's done. That's a 5-year contract. Just noted when I signed it with Justin saying that you'll notice that we didn't defund the police in Marlborough. So he kind of laughed about it and I laughed about it. So, you know, it's kind of easing up a little bit. So, and great job, Chief, you know, looking at it, that contract with eagle eyes. Appreciate it. Worked with other town officials and Pat Quick, the Milton Train Station Foundation, to have a public unveiling of an honorary plaque for the work done by Glenn Clark for the restoration of the Milton Train Station. Tom Corcoran was there, Legislature Corcoran was there, Scott Corcoran, Councilman, and Howard Baker was there. Appreciate it, guys. It was a great ceremony. I think Glenn was really moved. So kudos to Glenn. He did a great job. He really got us going. Met with Rosemary and Jerry Wine and Councilman Baker to finalize paperwork for a local waterfront revitalization program. Once again, I thank Rosemary and Jerry for getting all my documents that I had on the LWRP and putting that together for the final. So right now it's at the state, right? And hopefully it's only 6 years in the making. My God.
We're only 4 years.
4 years?
4 years.
No,
Persistent.
because Supervisor Osborne actually received the contract for the LWRP. Partisan
Yeah,
Route.
well, yeah. I'm just
Yeah,
talking
it's
about.
been a while.
Yeah, in
It's been a while.
terms of when we kicked it off.
So, and also met with Councilman Baker with discuss potential development in the hamlet of Marlborough. This would be dockside, so some interest talking to Mr. DeMarco that people are interested in that and looking at actually at Mr. Cerrone started it. I think there's a final EIS and also Mr. Osborne. So we'll look at that, see how we could jumpstart that. They just start, and so it'll be 2-3 months before we get any renderings for the town and stuff like that.
It's
But,
housing still, right, Al?
Huh?
Still housing?
Yeah,
Apartment.
yeah,
Housing, right?
yeah, rentals. So it's a reputable firm. It's high-end rentals. So they think there's a market for it. They've done a few along in Newburgh. So they have a good reputation. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep the board abreast on that situation. And then I'm met with the code enforcer, Tom Corcoran, planning board to develop regulations for short-term rentals. And I thank you, Tom, for all the work you put into that. Really appreciate it. I think we've come a long way, and I think it's a good code. I looked at it again today to see what it's all about. And so we'll discuss that a little bit more further later on in the meeting. I'd just like to add one more thing that I met with the subcommittee on from the Economic Development Committee on the trail, and we established that I think we're all set with Tom and the building department to open that up. Ribbon cutting on the 5th of December at 11 o'clock down at the trail. I took my family down there a few times. It's a nice trail. So moving on, Tom?
Monthly ending report, October 2020. Certificate of occupancy 3, request for information 19, building extensions 1, fire inspections 9, fire calls 2, ZBA applications 2, order to remedy 6, complaints 28, burn permits issued 15, building permits, addition renovation 7, burn permits 15, carports, garages 2, decks 3, demolitions 1, electrical 6, furnace 2, generator 1, pool, hot tubs 2, roofing 1, shed 3, single-family homes 4, tank installation removals 2, wireless communication additions 1, wood pellet stoves 1. Total permits 51 with an estimated cost of building $1,378,005. Monthly revenues for the month of October 2020, certificate of occupancy $450, permit extensions $125, building permits $10,337, request for informations $1,800, fire inspection fees $525, burn fees $70, ZBA applications $600, ZBA escrow for a total of $15,307. Total gas usage 94 gallons, total miles 1166.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions for Tom? Well, you could take your other hat on and put any COVID updates. I know we have around 17 or even higher.
Yeah, I posted late because the elections last week, so I didn't post till Thursday. So it was 17 then, yes, and I didn't get to it this morning. It's been a little busy, but yeah, I'll get you those numbers in a little while.
Okay, appreciate it.
Hey,
Yep.
Tom, back to your other hat.
Yep.
What are the 2 ZBA applications for?
One is for a garage that somebody wants to build in their rear yard, which they can't, but again, ultimately, I don't make the final call. The ZBA could reject it. And the other one is for a solar panel array installation, ground mount that's in the front yard setback. That one has a little bit more validity because the way the topography of the land and that ownership's land makes it a little difficult for them. So that one, for me, has a little bit more validity to it. So
Mhm.
that one I did recommend go to the ZBA. The other one I did not recommend, but they decided to go. So it's on their dime.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, so Chief,
Activity summary for the month of October 2020. Personal injury auto actions 5, fatals 0, property damage accidents 23, for a total of 28 for the month. Summonses issued, vehicle traffic 67, parking violations 4, blotter entries handled 1,834, total arrests for the month was 12. Telephone calls handled 1,796 calls. Only overtime that we have is attached. We do have part-time dispatch overtime, 8 hours. Police mileage for the month, 11,176 miles with a fuel consumption of 1,147.940 miles. I'm sorry, gallons. And something new you're going to see on this report came out of the discussion with the Police Reform and Review Committee. We will now report in our monthly meetings the use of force that we encounter by the month, as well as any civilian complaints lodged against the police department in any given month. So the use of force this month, we had one. It was officer versus deer. And it was a
we've heard about that one.
reference to a car accident where they had to dispatch a deer. We had no civilian complaints, which is good news. I do want to say kudos to the highway department for their Halloween adventure. We had no issues on Halloween whatsoever. We did suffer a car deer accident with vehicle 207. I sent you guys an email. I'm sure you're all aware of it. The car's back in service and fully usable.
Great job.
So that's my report.
Well,
Hey,
thank
Jerry.
you. Good job on resurrecting that car.
Yeah,
Really
no
appreciate it.
Very good.
Hey, Jerry, I wasn't out on Halloween, but how did the Hamlets look? Were there trick-or-treaters or?
Very sparse. Wildflower Estates seem to be the hot spot. That's where I'm assuming there's a lot of kids that must live in those estates up there by the high school. So that's where the most of the trick-or-treaters were. There were a couple through the village as Captain Supply had a little something on Facebook, which drew some people, as well as Milton with Frida's. Quite a few people went there as well, but nowhere near as years past. Everybody's being super cautious. We did have, if my numbers are right, about 190 cars at the truck or treat, which was very good. It was pretty awesome. If you didn't get to see it, they really did a good job.
I heard
Cool.
about it from my daughter. She said they really did a good job. The kids really loved it. That was great. That's a good outlet during these times. Anything is a good outlet, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any other questions for the chief?
Do you want to talk about the committee or is that later in the agenda?
Later on, we have that. So we could get into the weeds on that.
All right.
So Alan, you want to do the highway superintendent?
Yeah, I can do it. I'm going to be reading it off my phone, so it's a little
That's okay.
different. Monthly report for October 2020. Roads, we did repairs with Blacktop where we had installed pipes on Anna's Place, Conklin Hill, and Ridge Road. We did Blacktop, mill, and fill repairs on Blossom Hill Drive, Robin Drive, McLaughlin Drive, Willow Tree Road, Highland Avenue, and Old Indian Road. On 1023, we replaced and repaired 2 sections of guide rail on Mount Zion Road. Drainage, on 1027, we replaced 40 feet by 12-inch PVC driveway pipe on Willow Tree Road. We continued cleaning catch basins and pipe ends. For our MS4 reporting, we also repainted markers of the locations of all the catch basins. Brush weeds, we sent out the mower for the last time this season to landfill and to the reservoir. We cut up a tree on Bingham Road after a storm on 10-7. We hauled away tree branches from a tree on 9W that Central Hudson had cut down per Supervisor Lanzetta. We trimmed brush on Warren Street and Purdy Avenue for site distance. Shared services, on 1019 and 20, we sent 2 trucks to haul blacktop for the town of New Paltz. Water department, on 1021 and 1022, we assist the water department with installing a new water line for the dog park on Sands Avenue. Snow and ice. We spent several days servicing our trucks for the winter season. We removed tarps and tailgates and installed and serviced all the standard. Fuel usage, gas, 243.323 gallons, diesel, 954.724 gallons. Respectfully submitted, John Alonji.
Thank you, Alan. On that tree thing, somebody was very concerned about that tree and asked me if I could take a look at it, and I did, and it was really, oh my God, I don't know how it was standing up, but it was dead as a doornail, and it was a really bad situation. So I called Central Hudson up, and they said they would take a look at it, and that's Ken, who represents Central Hudson, took over from Mr. Casey. And he said, we'll address it like in a couple of days. It's really bad. So the only thing he said was that the town could help in hauling some of the big stuff away. And I asked John, and so he did, and they took the tree down. So that's a good thing. That's a safety thing. So thank you to Central Hudson, and thank you to John Alonji for doing that. Appreciate it. Hello, Ed.
Hey, Ed.
Okay. Scott, you
Hi, sorry about being late. I got stuck at work. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Hey,
What's up, Ed?
Scott, could you do the water
Yeah.
superintendent,
sure.
please?
Yep. Water report, 11/9/2020. Monthly report, water consumption totaled 18.035 million gallons, which is daily uses of 581.700 gallons. Compared to last month was 18.004 million gallons, which is a daily use of 600,000 gallons. Compared to a year ago, water consumption was 17.514 million gallons for the month, with the daily uses of 564,900 gallons. Summary for the month: hydrants, we started and finished flushing hydrants. Water mains, we had to repair 2 water main breaks, one on Western Avenue and one on Milton Turnpike, with the help of the highway department. We also repaired the roads where the water main break occurred. Valve boxes, we had to repair valve boxes and valves at sewer plant in Marlborough. Bills went out. If there are any questions or any problems, feel free to give us a call. Remember, bills can also be paid online. Go to www.townofmarlboroughNewYork.org. Dog park, we installed 575 feet of 1-inch water line with the help of the highway department. Closing 6, markouts 45, gallons of gas 230, gallons of diesel 0, and mileage was 1,450. And respectfully submitted, Charlie Maggio.
Thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate it. Okay, Colleen, how are you?
Good, how are you tonight?
Good.
Good. Town Clerk monthly report for October 2020. Burn permits 1 for $45, conservation 14 for $66.12, dog licenses 44 for $235, water services 4 for $3,975, transfer station permits 4 for $135, punch cards 37 for $2,005, marriage license fees 4 for $70, building department fees 1 for $13,527.43, fire fees 1 for $1,635, accident reports 12 for $50, alarm permit 1 for $20, certified copies 5 for $170, clerk fees 1 for $32.50, FOIL requests 1 for $1.50, for a grand total of $21,977.55.
Thank you, Colleen.
You're
Any
welcome.
questions for Colleen? Okay, none being said, thank you very much. Great report. I'll do the water quality management. As usual, for the month of October 2020, both the Marlborough and Milton wastewater treatment plants complied with all speedies requirements. The following are monthly statistics for both plants. The Marlborough average daily flow, 86,000 gallons per day, about 49% of design capacity. The capacity is 175,000. Average BOD removal is 97%. Average suspended solid removal is 94%. Milton wastewater treatment plant, average daily flow is 30,000 gallons per day, about 55% of design capacity. Average BOD removal 99%, average suspended solids removal is 95%. Both the Marlborough and Milton plants operated normally during the month of October without any major changes or events. Overall, both wastewater treatment plants are in good working order, but are getting older. If you need any additional information, do not hesitate to contact me. Stay safe and healthy. And that's from Julian Falco. Town of Marlborough Dog Control by Andrew McKee. So Andrew's total number of calls, 18. Number of police calls from Marlborough Police and Ulster County Sheriff is 8. Number of open cases is 2. Number of stray dogs impounded and/or seized is 0. Number of appearance tickets issued is 0. We currently have 1 dog in the kennel. There were no dog bites reported this month. There were a high number of noise complaints this month. Noise complaints meaning the dog's barking, howling at the moon, maybe?
Yeah.
Full moon.
That kind of stuff.
Full moon. Full moon.
So Howard, I guess,
Yep. Planning Board review, October 2020. I am also reading from my phone, so bear with me.
yeah, I guess I missed the Cindy's report, but I think she did bring it in. So
I don't see it
let
here.
me just see. Yeah, I think I copied it. Hold on.
Do we have one, Danielle?
Yeah, I do. I have it.
I
It's,
do.
I have it.
You
I
have
have
it?
it. Yeah. So this is from Cindy Hilbert. Our office processed 29 real property sales transfers. We worked on 8 property tax estimates. We verified sales records for the month. We are continuing field work. We have begun processing our exemptions, which are coming in slow but steady. And that's from Cindy Hilbert. Okay, now, Howard.
All right. Planning Board review, October 2020, meeting October 5th. Attendees, team was there. Agenda, first item was Pond View, 19 Sunrise Drive in Milton, public hearing for a lot line change. The public hearing was reopened and adjourned until October 19th, 2020. Meeting of the Planning Board due to the inadequacy of the driveway agreement between all involved landowners. Next item is HSC Milton LLC, Dollar General, Route 9W Milton sketch site plan and lot line. The applicant provided details of their proposed plus or minus 9,000 square foot Dollar General store at the above address, which includes a lot line change between adjoining parcels. Planning Board engineer Pat Hines reviewed several technical issues with the application. The board discussed the proposed layout, suggested repositioning the building to better align with design guidelines of the town. However, current code requires 75-foot setbacks. The applicant was encouraged to provide sprinklers despite not being over 10,000 square feet. 9W access points, parking, alternative building layouts were also discussed. The applicant will reappear at a later date. Board member Couch recused himself from all discussions of this application. Next scheduled meeting is Monday, October 19th. And then the minutes from that meeting of October 19th. Attendees, everyone seemed to be there. Agenda, first item was Pond View 19 Sunrise Drive, Milton, public hearing lot line. Public hearing was opened and closed with no public input. The lot line change was approved unanimously by resolution. The next item was Twin Pond 2017 Route 9W Milton preliminary site plan. Applicant's representative reappeared after a long absence to assess what outstanding issues require resolution to complete the approval process. The applicant will update their application to complete all required modifications to their site plan. Next item was HSC Milton LLC Dollar General on Route 9W, Milton sketch and site plan lot line. The applicant's representative reappeared. Board member Couchy recused himself from all discussions for this application. The planning board voted to declare its intent to act as lead agency and circulate to the involved agencies. The board also requested the applicant submit a lot line change plan depicting the entirety of his both lots involved. The applicant will reappear at a later date. Next item was Alton Carroll Link, 36 Green Tree Lane, Milton, sketch subdivision. Applicant presented plans to subdivide a parcel at the above address. The board agreed to waive the requirement to include 2-foot topography for the parcel. The board requested clarification regarding federal wetland boundaries and water courses on the parcel. Grading proposals will be required on future plans. The applicant will address these concerns and return. Discussion with that lawyer, engineer, and/or stenographer. Sean Stewart, Mr. Stewart sought guidance on purchasing on lands within the towns of Marlborough to use as an tourism venture. Next item was Sandra Russo, 74 Hampton Road, Marlborough. Mr. Russo sought a guidance on how to legally operate a home-based baking business. She was encouraged to complete a home occupation application and will proceed in doing so. Next item, review of site plan checklist modifications. A brief discussion of the site plan checklist was held. However, the board agreed it was better to review the home occupation checklist with the current influx of bed and breakfast scheduled to appear. Board members were encouraged to review and provide input to recent changes made to the home occupation checklist made by the town code enforcement officer to streamline the process. Next deadline is October 23rd. Next meeting is Monday, November 2nd. Respectfully submitted, Chris Brand. That's it.
Thank you, Howard.
Welcome.
So moving along, report of the committees.
Al?
Yeah.
Tom has a question.
Tom, sorry.
I figure we'd just tuck it in under updates. We'll call it the Ulster County COVID update.
Okay.
All right, so right now, total confirmed cases from day one is 2652. That's up 78 from last Wednesday, 11/4. Active cases as of today is 311. That's up 57 cases from last week. Recovered 2,243. Total tests to date, 130,000. Total tests to date, 130,425.
Now,
I think that's it.
What's going on?
I don't know. Total tests, 130,425, with negative cases, 127,773. As for Marlborough itself, 194 from day one, that's up 7 from last week. Active cases, 17, that's up 4 from last week. Recovered 174 people, and that is it.
We already have 3 deaths, Tom.
Yes, that's been constant for the last 4 or 5 months.
Right. Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate it.
Yep, you got it.
Talking about the recreation committee, unless somebody has any questions.
I'm not doing anything.
Ed, do you want to say something? Somehow he's not, his image isn't changing, so,
Looks like he's frozen.
yeah.
Frozen in time.
Somebody, maybe I'll text him and tell him to log back in again.
So recreation committee, I guess the only thing we have, do you have anything, Howard or Pat? Except for the trunk or treat, thanking John Alonji and the boys.
Yeah, they did a great job. I went to it myself. It was
Great.
really good. Really good job.
Tommy? Tom?
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me. Hello?
Go
Yep.
ahead.
Okay, so we're moving right along. We
I
have
got
some
a question.
technical difficulties. On the recreation committee, we just talked about John Alonji, thanking John for doing all that hard work and the town chipping in with candies and stuff. So thank you, Tom, Scott, for delivering that. All the
Yep.
kids had a great time. So moving forward, the other recreation committee, as I mentioned, was the trail committee. December 5th, hoping to have a ribbon cutting down at the new trail across the street from St. Mary's. So inviting Tilcon people and people that donated for the bridge and stuff like that. So it should pretty good. Tom?
Did we set hours of operation for that time of year, dusk to dawn?
Yeah.
Is that posted on the board?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, everything's posted.
Okay, and we know we have the engineered plans. I have them in my office. We just need building permit, and I'll finalize that this week.
Okay, Tom, appreciate it.
Okay.
Emergency Management Preparedness Committee, no report?
No update, no report.
Okay. There's no report on the CAC. The IT committee, finally, I think I'm in the queue to get a new computer. They canceled the one that was recommended first because of demand. I mean, so.
It's hard to get these computers now. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, so whatever. Milton
Okay.
Train Station Foundation, we had that lovely thing for Glenn. And thanks to Pat Quick and all his hard work, appreciate it. Milton Landing Citizens Committee, any report?
No real report or update, but wasn't Arbin supposed to have been back by now?
Well,
Yeah,
that's
they
another
are, they're,
We'll discuss that at another, I think we have that, so
Yeah.
we'll go into detail a little bit on that.
Okay.
We could, actually, we could talk about it now. I don't see it on here. Did
Not
you?
on the agenda.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about it now, Howard?
yeah, we had hoped that they'd be back, starting last week around the 4th. I think they were anticipating, but they had to get a special permit to move the, steel pilings from wherever they were being manufactured to,
What's in the line?
to their barge, I guess. So bottom line is we expect to see them there this week. And I will keep an eye on it, and you will keep an eye on it, and Al will keep an eye on it. And if we don't see them like by Wednesday, we'll call them again and make sure that they're on their way. But supposedly we're going to see them this week. The barge should be there this week.
I think the length of the steel was to ship them to Arden to weld them together.
Yeah, they had to have a special
That's
permit
what
to
they need
transport them and all
for
that
the
kind of stuff.
trucking, yeah.
They have
Can
a
you
lot
guys
of
do-
uses.
Stand down.
Can you guys do me a favor and remind them I'm going to need some type of change order on that for the building permit?
Mhm.
And then also I'm going to need all the special inspections done for those. I'm going to need those in my office, or at least put me in contact with somebody. Because
Mhm.
again, with that change order for the piers, I'm going to need that. And then again, special inspections will need to be done. Because obviously I don't do welding inspections or any of the other, inspections. I'll have to be file.
Yep.
Absolutely. You want to
All
take
right.
care of that, Howard?
Yes. Yeah, I got
Talk to Brandy tomorrow about that?
Yep. I just wanted to know, Eddie, you're back. It seems like you're back on now. Did you want to say something? We can see you now. Can you see us, Ed?
I had a question for Tom.
Okay.
You can't hear me though, right?
We can hear you.
I can see you fine. I can hear you.
Your audio comes in a little delayed. But go ahead.
I don't know you can't hear me again, right?
We can hear
You
you.
can?
We can hear you.
But my question was for Tommy. You're familiar with Hudson Terrace where that bed turn is when it goes south? You familiar with that bed turn, Tom?
Bad turn on Hudson
Tommy?
Terrace.
Mhm.
Can you hear me?
When you're going north on Hudson Terrace, you take the right-hand turn onto South Street.
Tommy, you can't hear me?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but when you're coming out towards the corner where it turns into South Street,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, there's that one house that's right on the road. That guy's got 5 or 6 people baking cookies, and they're being sent out through FedEx. Big FedEx truck is there every day. They're loading baked cookies that he's baking right in his house. Is he in the home occupation?
He doesn't have one as far as I know. But I don't know if that would fall under the home occupation rule because nobody's coming there. That's like saying
Does
somebody's
he need a
selling,
permit or something to do that? I mean, I don't know.
to the best of my knowledge, no, it's just saying if somebody was selling on eBay and they were selling stuff and they were picking up at the house.
It's not.
Home occupation is for individuals coming to the home.
Tom, you know what? I'll call you later. Obviously,
Okay.
That'd be
I mean,
good.
wouldn't something like, I mean, we're talking about,
You call Tom after.
Right,
that.
but
He's
there's-
coming in pretty,
but if he's going against the baker, he's got 5 or 6.
I can't hear you, but all I can say, if you can hear me, is that a home occupation would require individuals coming to the home. That would
What about
require site plan
employing 5 or
application
6 people
to
in the
survive
home?
Parking, lighting, and anything else that goes on there.
They bake there, and he doesn't have enough room from the park.
Ed,
If you go by,
I would suggest that you
I will.
take it offline, because you're really coming in.
Unstable. Okay.
So
All
have a
right.
discussion with Tom offline, and I'll follow through with Tom tomorrow. I think Tom's correct, but let's see what happens. Where were we? Economic, meet me in Marlborough.
I'll talk to you later. I'll talk to you later, Tommy.
Meet me in Marlborough. Do you have anything, Howard?
I have not heard a thing. The only thing is that
Okay.
special Thanksgiving farmers market they're gonna have in a week or two on a Saturday,
Yep.
which we all,
Okay.
everybody was okay with that. So
Uh,
that's the only thing I know of, I'm aware of right now.
Yep, that's the only thing I know of. The board already approved that, so.
Mhm.
Hamlet and Milton Association Committee. Ellen?
I haven't heard anything from Vivian. They're still doing their thing down there. I don't know what's gonna go on for Christmas, but
Yeah,
it's probably gonna go the way of everything else.
yeah. Transfer Station Review Committee. Howard, I guess the thing that's up is the
Yep.
contract that you and
Yeah.
Alan been talking about.
Yeah, which I think we're gonna re-up for. Have you received anything, Al?
No, I have not.
They were gonna send us the new contract, like,
I'll ask Tina to look at that tomorrow. Thank you. So this is old business. I have not received anything. Talked to James Scoopus the other day on the two member items, one from Jacobson, 175, and one from James, 375. Told to be patient. These things will come through. They usually do within a year and a half. And also with the $50,000 from James on the police. Talking about that, Chief, did you receive anything with the live scan, or the thing that I finally got on and did all the different forms to verify it?
So the DCDS has executed the contract. So I uploaded the necessary documents, completed the necessary reports. Waiting for them to accept that, and then I will put in the payment request for the money.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
No problem.
And like we suggested, the LWRP is pretty close, thanks to Howard and Rosemary and Jerry doing the final reports. So that'd be a good thing, getting that out of the way. Nothing on the district improvement, water, and we could short-term rentals. So basically, I like to start the conversation off with looking at the code that Tom came up with. And so that's really where the meat is, and then we could discuss application fees and all that later on, or if you want to do it tonight. But if we get through with the code, and I don't have a problem with the code, I think it's right, spot on. It's a lot further than we first started, and which I'm really happy about. Gives people the opportunity to do short-term rentals and bed and breakfast. When I was looking at the code, a site plan, if you look at site plans, you really need a lot for site plans. But there's a condition in that code that suggests, or it implies that the planning board could waive all those. So that covers us quite a bit, Tom, right?
Yeah.
So this way, we don't have to have them do a survey and all that stuff. I mean, we want parking, all the initial things that you need for a site plan, but to hopefully to streamline it to about 2 meetings with the, public hearing. So this way the neighbors know where they are. So basically, I mean, everybody's seen the code changes. They're pretty simple. So let's start the dialogue about that. See if you disagree with Tom, myself, or if you agree, or you think you can make the code better in some way. I'm open. I'm ready. So.
Well,
I know
my comments were in my email, the email I sent. I do think the fees are a little high, but we can discuss that at some other time. I would like to see how an applicant for a short-term rental, what the steps were that they would like. So a flow charted kind of thing is what I was asking for, just to make sure we've covered all our bases there.
Tom does have a checklist, right?
Checklist, but okay, so you apply for a short-term rental with the short-term rental application. You submit that to Tom's office, and then from Tom's office, it goes to the planning board.
Well,
No, it would be normal procedures, no matter what you want to do in town, first stop is with me.
Yeah.
I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. Is it in the right district? Is it allowed by zoning? I
Right.
say yes, I say no, I say maybe.
Right.
Once I say yes, yeah, you want to do a short-term rental, it's allowed because you're in the R1, RAG1 districts. You're not in C1, you're not in HD, so you're allowed to do it. So I send you to the planning board.
Okay.
The planning board,
They fill out, you give them the application time, the short-term.
no, they go to the planning board and get a planning board application. That would be that first one I gave you, which would be the planning board application for home occupation or short-term rental. Now, there's no fee on that. That's when you're asking the fee, there's no fee on page 3.
Okay, so
planning-
so if it was a bed and breakfast, it would be a home occupation.
Right, it's the same application, a home occupation, you want to cut hair, you want to have a bed and breakfast, you want to have a short-term rental, that would be that application that would streamline you through the process. No
So that would be-
survey, no engineering
the-
reports.
That would be the home occupation application you fill out.
Correct, because as of right now, I send somebody to the planning board, it's one application. You want to do a lot line revision, one application. Site plan, same application. Subdivision, same application. It's and again, there's too much overlap and stuff that has nothing to do with you. So that 3-page application I gave you, the first page was the planning board's application, basically name, applicant. They gave me that. I created the second page, which is the checklist. And the third page is the application fees and escrow, which is left blank, which is open for determination. I left that to the planning board, what that number might be. So again, then the second part of that is once you're approved, you get your application that I created for your certificate. That's the $500 fee. That's your application fee. You want to apply for your application to me. I've got my planning board approval. You give me a copy of that letter. They approved me. I'm okay to have it. Now, there's a $500 application fee, as I suggested, $500 application fee, and you submit everything else. You submit the fire evacuation plan, and you do all the verifications that are on that second application. But that's after you get through the planning board.
And so what does the planning board base their approval on? What is it that they look at to make their determination?
One is that the ownership. I own, if we're talking short-term rental now, I own my home, and again, we can clean it up. Across the street or next door is the house I also own. So they have to show proof of ownership of their house, the address, the proof of the house that they're looking for the short-term rental. Is it on the same property? Is it across the street? Is it adjacent to? So they show proof of that. Planning board's looking at that. They're looking, do you have enough parking spots? I think the parking regulation is 2 parking spots plus 1 per bedroom being rented. Because now we're not talking 50% anymore, because that's a bed and breakfast. We're talking short-term rentals. So you're renting the whole house out. So they make sure the planning board's looking that they own the property, they have enough parking regulations, and they're in the right district. There's not a whole bunch for them to look at. I mean, as long as they show them those few odds and ends, and then the rest of the checklist, then they're okay to go. I mean, then the public hearing. Now you let the neighborhood know. You know, Johnny Smith owns the house he lives in. Johnny Smith bought the house next door or owns the house next door, and he's now going to make that a short-term rental. So anybody who wants to come speak on that, come let us know. But at least we're letting you know that you see cars come and going every weekend. That's why they're there. It's a short-term rental.
So the planning board will mainly look at ownership and parking spaces and maybe a rough hand drawn plot of the property. If they have a survey, that's great too, but we're not going to require that.
Right.
Then they say, yes, it looks okay. Then it goes back to you and you.
Nope. Then it's set,
No.
then it's set for public hearing.
Public
Oh,
hearing.
all that, yeah, like public hearing, right? We do all that. But
Public
if they
hearing
get
goes-
through their process, the planning board gets through their process, then it goes back to you for the STR application.
Correct, which I will do an inspection of the home after the application is given to me. I will check for fire extinguishers, carbon monoxides, evacuation plans, posting of, all the proper numbers. We'll keep on file their emergency contact information for the police department. We'll forward them a copy for the emergency contact. They show up and ABC is there from Long Island. The police know who the owner of the home is, which will be right next door. They could contact them to come over, whatever they got to do. So, right. So it's the paperwork end of it and the fire and almost my fire inspection, safety inspection of the home.
So up to that point, they haven't paid anything.
Well, they paid the planning board the application
Planning
fees.
board fee. And
Yes,
yes,
and what is that? What is the planning board fee?
That's page 3, which is left blank. I'm going to leave that guys up to you. Right now, it's 600 and 600.
Right, I know.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
something we could go over. So,
Yeah, okay. Well, then it goes to you, Tom, so just let me finish. It goes to you, Tom. You do all your stuff and you say yay or nay. If you say yes, it looks good, they pay the $500 fee and they're now added to our list of approved short-term rentals in the town.
Yeah, and I would probably, again, I'm not going to be the know all end all on that. I'll take it all in, I'll approve it, and then probably send it back to you as the town board for the approval to put them on that list. I'm assuming that's, Jerry could correct me on this, on the, again, I'm going to kind of associate this a little bit to the toll list, because the toll list, we know we have a set number, it's 7.
Yeah,
We know that they sign up for it or to get on a waiting list. We know that I look at it, Jerry looks at it. I don't know if you guys look at it or
now,
not. the toll
I
list.
don't see why we should look at it if they're
Okay.
past the planning board. I mean, that's my opinion.
And that's fine. I just,
okay.
The
And
only
then we-
question, are you done, Howard, or are you
No.
still going?
So then we have this list and
Okay.
we're gonna keep it to a short list, I think. I don't know if that's in the code somewhere. We're not
no,
gonna.
well, that's a number determined by you.
Right. And then there's the question of taxes that are collected. Who monitors that? When they
They
have
send
someone
it up to the
living there,
county.
so we have to forward this list to the county and they
No.
keep track.
Well, I'm gonna in my checklist, I should have something that says their proof of registration with the county. That's gonna be part of the application. So when that application comes to me, not only am I gonna have the planning board approval, I'm gonna have the Ulster County's approval. It's gonna show me that they applied to Ulster County, and then they're gonna prove to me everything else on the safety end of it. So no, they're gonna be registered with Ulster County prior, knowing that Ulster County knows they're in our town. Ulster County is gonna be collecting taxes on them.
And how does that, well, maybe you don't have that answer, but how does that work?
I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't.
I don't know. That's exactly, they would do exactly what they would do as register with a bed and breakfast. So the county could get their occupancy tax and everything else gets in a row.
Ed tax.
So the county monitors that, covers that, administers that, whatever the proper word is, they take care of it.
That's correct, because remember, we don't receive any money from that in theory. So that's why the $500 application fee carries them over 12 months or 52 weeks. So it's, I don't, again, you determine it, but I don't think 500 is unfair for a 52-week period of rental. But the rest of that money being collected is done by the county through their,
I hope some of that would dribble back down, but
Well, again, that's why I said in theory, the dribbling down is exactly that. It's dribbling down through the sales tax collection on that end.
right.
So I just have one question, Tom. Looking at your stuff is, what is a short-term certificate? What is that a CO or what is a?
That's basically their license, their certificate, because they're only holding it for a year. So they're holding that certificate for 1 year. It's going to be dated, from 1/1/21 to 1/1/22. So they know they've got to renew, just like their junkyard license. The junkyard license, they receive a certificate. They receive a license. They
So
hang it on the wall.
So where is that certificate? We have to make that certificate up?
I would create a certificate that they would
Okay.
hang in there showing that,
That's what I'm asking. I was looking
Yes.
for it. I didn't know what a certificate was. I thought maybe it was you know, CO or something like that.
I'm stealing that from, again, and then in that case, I'm stealing it from our junkyard licenses. I go out, do the inspection, and the clerk's office, Colleen and Danielle, issue the certificate, which is an actual certificate that they hang on the wall, which is good for 1 year. So this would follow that same protocol, that anybody staying in the facility could see the certificate hanging on the wall, noting that that facility is active and protected. They're protected there for that year.
So I would suggest also maybe, I mean, the fee might be, you know, calculated according to the bedrooms. So if you, I mean, is that a way we could, you know, suppose a house has 4 bedrooms, they go through the planning board and so they're going to receive more money than a guy, a bed and maybe a home occupancy, short-term rental with one guy with a bedroom, right? So if I have a house, Al Lanzetta, I got four rooms that I'm going to do a short-term rental. I mean,
Yeah,
there might be a way maybe to increase that where the town would, I'm just thinking out of the box.
You could, Al,
I'm good.
with that, I'm sorry, but Al, you could do that and do a minimum. Like what Tommy's saying, the $500-600, and then
Right.
add per bedroom.
That's what I was thinking
Right.
of. I mean, I think we could come up with that maybe probably at the next meeting. So basically, what I'm hearing is that the board is pretty satisfied with the code changes. And that, so I would ask permission to go to legal.
Well, real quick, I got a question. On my one last email, I guess the email chain we were all involved in,
Yeah.
I put in there for a penalty. Because I think what we're doing here, I mean, Tom's doing a lot of work, we're doing a lot of work. And someone might look at that and say, you know, whether it's $500 or $600 or whatever, maybe it'll be more if there's more bedrooms, whatever we figure out. I don't want to do that. I don't have to do that. What's the penalty? I'll just do it.
So unfortunately, I guess I hear what you're saying. I know what you're after, but the idea is that this home occupation is under the zoning code, under zoning 155. And 155 has its penalties listed at the end of the section. So whether you're violating bed and breakfast, short-term rental, property maintenance, it kind of has that number there. You know what I'm saying? So if you interject this under the zoning code under 155, at the end of 155 is the penalty phase, which I believe is like $250 a week. And for every week that it incurs, it doubles, or they're just, so the fine is there, it's defined in the book. So you'd have to kind of get creative on how to create a fine outside of the book, because it's within the zoning code.
Mhm.
So maybe, again, we had determined that the penalty in theory is we could revoke at any time the permit, you know, so, you know, you could kind of put something in what's revocable and what's not renewable if you want to do that. But the penalty, and I felt 3 strikes and you're out, that was kind of talked about, it just
Yeah.
didn't fit. So it was more like, you know, it's either from the start, you're signing a contract with us saying that at any time we could revoke this permit. So, I mean, you could be into it for 3 weeks and have a couple problems, and we say, boom, you're done, we revoke it. Or it's just non-renewal. So that was kind of the penalty phase
I
on
think
that
what
side.
Alan's Alan's getting at, Tom, is if someone doesn't even apply, they just say, I'm not doing it,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna operate. So now you don't have any of that. So how do you,
Yeah, it's the same thing we do now today. We go and summons them, and poor Tom goes in and the judge says, blah, blah, blah. It all depends on the Justice Department at the end. We've been through this. I mean, you know.
Yeah,
but I mean,
But
the
I'm
thing
bringing this
is-
up, guys, I'm bringing this up because we do have a couple instances, and none of which say publicly, where if you get maybe a ticket for doing something you shouldn't be doing while leaving your car somewhere, there really isn't any penalty.
Well, the penalty would be, in theory, again, once we enact it, then you get a little bit of a grace period, right? To get people in, get it going. But once you say, if you're telling me that they know it and they're going to try to circumvent the law, then it's real simple. When I take them to court, you just don't even issue. They say you violated, we're not even allow you on the list. And the courts will say, here's your fine. You know,
dismantle what you're doing. Now, if they cease to dismantle, as Al knows, our courts don't have a cease and desist powers. I don't have cease and desist powers. That goes to the next level. Then you're going to have to go through a cease and desist. And that's regardless, short-term rental, Johnny opens a widget factory, somebody opens something up in town. You know, my hands are tied. People think, hey, they just opened a brand new pizza place, go shut them down. Well, it don't work that way. There's no cease and desist.
But there's fines defined in the book already, right? In section.
Correct. There's fines defined in the book, and it's done on a gradual increasing scale that the fine ends up being like $1,000 a week.
It gets
You know,
substantial
in the
after a
third
while.
week.
You know, it always brings me back to Mr. Flanger. He died with $1 million in fines.
So I guess you could say the fines are in the book, but you know, you can't get blood from a stone. Falanga's got $1 million fine. We're never going to see it. I can't even tell you the time and effort I have tied up in that property over the last 18 years.
Tell me about it.
So again, the fines and the penalties are defined in the book.
There was another one.
Up to $1,000, and you also have the option to say, you don't play by the rules, you don't get it. I don't care if you own a house next door, or we just don't. Now you basically alienate yourself for, 1 year you can't have it because you've defined us. But the person who screws up, like the people that I've sent these letters out to on the bed and breakfast, I apologize. I didn't know. Here's the copy of my letter to the county. I have my certificate. No problem. Lady came in and says, don't worry, don't bring any bail money. We'll take care of this. Relax. We're not bad people. Let's just figure it out. And everybody has been compliant with it. They've been very good with it. There's been nobody defiant of it. So if that case happens, again, we have that grace period. I didn't know. I did file with the county. I am paying my taxes. Thank you. Now just take the next step. People who are defiant of that, I'll take them to court. That fine gets accumulated under the zoning code. And if they continue, one, they'll never have one in town again because we'll just blackball them from the list. That's a violation of our code. And two, we'll rack the fines up. And then you would ultimately have the option to assess the penalties back to the house if we go to a higher court. Well, there is options, but it does cost the town a little bit more money.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure that the town was protected. That was basically.
I agree with you. I agree, but from on the back end of it, knowing how hard it is to get money, it's tough. Listen, I mean.
Tom, I have a question now. Like, I just want to go back to kind of what Howard was getting at. I want to make sure I understand again. So they're going to be going to the planning board first, right? They're filling out their planning board application. There's a home occupation fee application. There's an escrow amount of money. And then the planning board gets all the things that are required, and they would approve it at that meeting and then go to a public hearing next. Then
Correct.
It goes to you. You have to get that whole checklist filled out. You have to get the county information back. They pay their fees. You give them a certificate. But after that point, they don't go back to the planning board to say one final step to say,
No.
I'm approved.
Yeah.
Once they get their approval from the planning board, and I get a letter from them saying they've met all the criteria, they've notified the neighborhood, we've met, all the questions were answered, we're ready to go. Then all I need, again, is the planning board letter saying we've okayed it, and the county saying we know about it, we're taxing it. So now both agencies have said we've acknowledged the short-term rental, and now it's up to me to police it on a safety end. And obviously on the monetary end to collect the money for the town, but on a safety end of it.
And so what if, let's just say for some reason, what's the recourse if the planning board rejects them at the planning board process right off the bat? What's the person's recourse?
There is no, if the planning board rejects them, there's obviously going to be a proper reasoning for that. Just if they rejected you for a subdivision, a lot line change, a site plan application. Could they go to a ZBA board to try to, nothing like that, right? They could go to the ZBA if there's some type of exception that they don't meet. I can't see what they would need, a planning board application. Planning board application for lot line or something, they would go to ZBA for a setback or a variance for density.
And so when we talk about first, we say someone has a bed and breakfast, but they don't have that next door home. That fee would be the $500 in the checklist for that bed and breakfast?
If that's what we say, bed and breakfast would be 500, short-term rental would be 500, and an additional 200 per bedroom, 100, whatever you decide to increase it by.
Well, I mean, if we say maximum 4 bedrooms or something like Al's saying, and then if anything above 4 bedrooms, we could put a number to it or whatever it is. But I mean, my thinking is, my thought was this, and I put it in my email too, is that the bed and breakfast is this first entity, that's a $500 fee. If you have an adjacent house that you're gonna now use as a short-term rental, that's an additional $500 fee. It's for each house. That's what I'm asking.
I haven't touched on, and I don't even know the legality, to have a bed and breakfast and a short-term rental. That's what you're saying. I'd never even thought about that.
Well, wouldn't that's what we're basically saying? Someone has a bed and breakfast and they have a next door house and they want to rent that?
No, separate.
There's
Tommy Corcoran comes in and I want to have a bed and breakfast. Owner occupied, less than 50% of the house, boom, I give my application for that
That's just
home
a bed and
occupation.
breakfast.
Howard Baker comes in, he doesn't want a bed and breakfast because he has another house on the property, or he owns the house next door. He's not going for a bed and breakfast, he's going for a short-term rental. Totally different
Okay,
application.
but let's just say, my example existed. Would they have to fill out 2 applications?
Honestly, I never thought of somebody applying for both. I mean, if that would be acceptable by you as the board to allow them to have 2 special use permits, I don't see why not. I would say if it's on 2 separate lots, right? If I have a bed and breakfast in my house, which is on a separate SBL, on a separate address, and then I own the house next door, I probably wouldn't see a problem with that. But if I have a bed and breakfast in my house and then have an additional house on my property, I might have a problem with that because now you're issuing 2 special uses on 1 SBL. I mean,
Right.
that'd be up to you. I don't know if I care so much.
I'm just throwing it out there because this could come up, right? So let's think about what could come up.
when
That
we
would
do
be
the application thing, and when we do the fees, maybe we could introduce that. And then, because it'll be a yearly thing, because of the fees, we could do that, change it at our reorg meeting and establish, different fees and see how it goes. But it's a good point, Scott.
See,
Tommy, what's your opinion, Tommy, on the home occupation upfront fee, which I think is $600 now? Do you have an opinion about that? Because I think that's a little high, because I think people they get scared away with that amount and they don't go forward with any home occupation. So they're doing this thing out there and we have no knowledge of it because they don't want to pay that $600 fee.
I 100% don't want to scare anybody away. I mean, I obviously would probably defer to the planning board and, to say what's a reasonable fee, because it's their time. I mean, if you're going to ask me how much to charge for a shed permit or a deck permit, I'm going to tell you what it's worth because of what my office does and what I do. So I kind of could put a monetary value on that. But you might want to ask the planning board what they feel is fair based on how much work their secretary is doing and how much work they're doing. I mean, I believe an application fee for that should be based on that. I mean, I don't believe you should be charging somebody $1,000 if it takes you half an hour's worth of work. I mean,
Right.
So fees in my office, at least, are based on the amount of time and effort that I spend and my secretary spends setting these things up. So that's why they vary. A new house permit is going to cost you $1,500 because it takes me 7 hours to review the plan review. And a shed permit's only going to cost you $100 because it only takes me, 45 minutes. So I base my fees on my knowledge.
Right now, you're saying this home occupation application fees usually $600, right?
$600 escrow, and I don't know how much they use it at.
But
You'd have to ask the secretary.
But we're making this a short application, not like a full-blown application. So at the very minimum, I would think it has to be cut in half.
Right.
I mean,
I don't have a problem with that because we're streamlining the applications for the planning board. So again, talk to them. If they're working less, which I assume they are, but again, I'm not going to make that assumption for them. James is on, but if they're working a little bit less on the application and it's 2 meetings, then that's okay with me that fee's shorter. Because again, the engineer fee and the lawyer fee are going to be the same regardless, how much time they spend. So that escrow end is going to be eaten up. But the application fee, can it be less than $600? I believe so. but I'm not going to speak for the planning board.
Yeah,
Right,
the
we're talking
application
about,
fee is $550, the escrow is
50.
$750.
yeah, and we're talking about any home occupation, not just a bed and breakfast, any home occupation.
That's
So,
correct.
somebody
'Cause
wants-
any home occupation, again, you're cutting hair, you're doing massages, you're whatever,
You've got a
something
consulting
simple.
business, you don't, you do it from home. something like
Why
that.
why is it 4 meetings and $1,500?
Right.
Well, I think if you're cutting it down to 2 meetings, like you said, you got to cover the engineering costs. That's the number one.
That's in the escrow, so we don't got to worry
That's in
about
your
that.
escrow. If the application, if you're getting it down from 4 meetings to 2 meetings, obviously you're not having as much work done. I mean, I'd be in favor of at least cutting it in half, whatever it is. I mean, even if we go to 250 or something like that. I mean, that's up to,
We could
majority of the board.
discuss that and
Yeah.
further application fees and stuff like that further on the line. Once, like I said, once we get, it's, as you know, codes take a while. So you go through the planning board referral, Ulster County, and you go through the 30 days before you could accept the resolution. So the process takes long. So what I was starting to say is, if you feel comfortable what we have now, I'd like to sit down with Jerry Kamadas from Vanderwater and Vanderwater with the building inspector, Mr. Corcoran, and get this in motion, because a lot of people are, coming to Tom's office and planning board and asking about the short-term rental. And so we could get that going. So I'm asking the town board if they feel comfortable with what we have so far that Mr. Corcoran has spent some time on. And we had this dialogue that I need a motion if you feel comfortable with it to go to Jerry Kamadas from Vanderwater and start looking at the legalities of it.
And Tom, you're comfortable with it?
Yeah, because the thing I would need the lawyers for is, one, the 2 extra definitions I put in about the ownership, because I want to make sure that our definition of owner that's in the code book is strong enough. So I want to
Gotcha.
question him. So I added the 2 other definitions, a title owner and fee owner. If he believes that we need them, then fine. If not, fine. I want to question him with that. And yeah, but I think, again, I'm a little biased because I wrote it, but I mean, I think it fits our, what we need.
I think,
Well-
you wrote it, Tom, but I think the combination of people getting together and in the input was helpful too, from the planning board and Howard and myself. But yeah, thanks for writing. Appreciate it. So it was a collaboration between even the board. Yes, Alan.
So with that being said, all motion that we send it to legal.
Okay.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
You can only
Opposed?
go like this.
Opposed? None being said. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Tom. Thank you all. I think from the first time we started to now, we've made tremendous progress, and I'm really happy about it. And that's what government's all about, collaboration. So let's move on. Advertised for opening the planning board and ethics board position. You saw the letter from Tina. I need a motion to advertise for those positions.
I make the motion to advertise.
I'll
Thank you.
second it.
Thank you, Ed. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Now the fire alarm thing, we finally, I think what we have to do is, Gary Lazaroff from the town has not found 2 alternative quotes, so it's A&R Security. And if I'm correct, I think it was around,
2 numbers. The total is 15,550. The highway department garage and building is 12,900, and the 4-bay storage garage is 2,650.
right, and then there's the $45.
And $45 a month fee after that, yeah.
Okay, so I need an approval to move forward on this, gentleman. And I'm talking to Christina, our budget director. We'll do it once the bill comes in. We'll do a reserve fund resolution for transfer from the building reserve and pay this 12,000.
I'll make the motion. I'm gonna
Scott,
make a motion that we move forward on the A&R security contract and installation with the highway department and the highway department storage garage
Scott, you want to give an amount there, please?
for a total of $15,550 and $45 a month fee after.
I'll second
Okay,
that motion.
All right, second by Alan, all in favor, gentlemen?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none being said, so moved. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Police reform, you want to talk about that, Chief and Howard, you guys and Ed? I'm just an observer there, but what I see, I like.
Well, let me, I'll let Chief give you the details, but this particular item here, C, is just to ask, it was recommended by the committee that we open up one of our meetings, our town board meetings, for public comment. So I'm requesting our next workshop meeting on the 23rd. Portion of that, we invite people to, and I don't know how we'll do this via Zoom. We'll have to figure that out, but
You'll be away, Jerry, right?
give their input, feedback on any comments, any concerns they might have regarding the police. We've already gotten about a half a dozen comments and emails from people through our flyer broadcast, but this should just be another avenue of getting input. So that's the only reason I put that on there. But Jerry, go ahead with other updates that you may have.
So this letter that Howard's referencing is, we put out a flyer that requests the public to put input, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whatever their opinion might be, what changes they want to see, what changes they want done, anything that would help guide the committee to move forward. Like Howard said, we got about a half a dozen, maybe 10 responses. Good, some bad, some with some opinionated stuff, but it's coming in slowly. That'll end on the 15th of November, if is what we used on the flyer. So one of the options was to have a public meeting and invite the public to it so they could publicly speak in reference to this. We're doing Zoom meetings, so we put it on the agenda so that people can attend the meeting via Zoom and make any statements that they want to make. It won't be a question and answer type situation. They can come in, they'll say their piece, make their suggestions, and that'll be the end of it. We're not going to get into a debate or an explanation to anything. It's just for them to publicly make their statements. Unfortunately, I won't be at the next meeting. That may help encourage people to come and say stuff. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. So we decided to do the board meeting as the group suggested. We haven't really dove into the rules and regulations and changes, although people have been reviewing them and looking at them. Some suggesting for body camera stuff have come up. We did a little bit of research on costs and things like that. There's some research happening by one of the group members in terms of possible funding. But we really do need to get on board and get going on some of the more serious policies need to be reviewed. April 1st is coming very quickly. April 1st is when it needs to be filed with the state. So really, I would say by February, March, the latest, has to be approved by the town board so that we can get it to the state for approval.
Right.
So as a committee, we'll work on it and we're moving forward, and we may have to prod a little bit to get going. We are in November, and before you know it, Christmas will be here, holidays coming up. We're going to have less and less time for meetings and probably pick up again in January. So, but that's where we are with the committee right now.
I think we're trying to kind of see what kind of feedback we get from either emails or any way that we can in this public option on the 23rd. Our next town board meeting is another way to do it, and waiting to see what we get back from that. As Jerry said, it's been, it's a mix of comments we've gotten so far. I do think we have gotten into the procedures a little bit more than you may have gotten from Jerry's comments. Certainly this, the whole idea of use of force and all the rules and regulations we have regarding that. It's really spelled out in our policies and procedures. I don't think most people know about that. So the thing it comes down to, in my opinion, though, is training in terms of use of force and de-escalation procedures. And if there is such a thing as systemic racism, and if there's training that relates to that, which there is, that's the kind of stuff I think we're going to end up really honing in on, right, Jerry? And the other thing I think we talked about at the last meeting was appraisals, periodic reviews of our police force, and making that a more formal process. And we've gotten some input regarding that as to what we might want to do there. So to me, there's 300 and some pages in our policies and procedures. We have to narrow it down. We are narrowing it down to the areas that I think is the reason this police reform stuff came about in the first place, and that's use of force training, hiring practices, which we don't have a lot of control over, things of that nature. So, and everybody agrees that these body cameras would be a good idea, but it's awfully expensive. So everybody seems to think it's going to become mandatory in a couple of years. So we're going to have to do it. I don't know how we're going to pay for it, but it's something we need to look into, and everybody thinks it's a good idea, but how we pay for it is just another question. So I think, yeah, we're going to gather this input. Probably by the end of November, we'll have a good idea. December and January, we'll formulate our responses to that. And hopefully, Jerry, maybe by February, we have something the town board can review. And then by mid-March, we have to have something agreed to and ready to go to the state by the 1st of April, I would say. So we do have our work to do, but I think we're in pretty good shape relative to other communities that I hear about. Let's put it that way. So,
Right. So
yeah.
when I said we haven't gotten too far,
Mhm.
you're right, Howard. I may have misspoken a little bit. So we as a group have looked at our policies, and we have narrowed down to a select few that we feel are the most important. And, the question and answer going back and forth is so that the whole committee understands the nitty gritty of the policies. So that's where we're moving forward with it. One of the biggest things is actually changing the physical policy.
Right.
To take the ideas that we've come up with and actually institute that into the rules and regulations and rewrite the policies.
I don't think we
for us,
have to have that done by April 1st. We have to say that we're going to do that, and these are the areas we're going to rewrite. I wouldn't think we'd have to have it done by April 1st, but
oh no, we need to submit an approved by resolution set of rules and regulations with modifications according to the governor's order.
okay.
But to that note, I have been working very diligently about retyping these rules and regulations on everything that I can do now, so that I only have to adjust those few policies that we may be changing, like the training, like use of force. Actually, the use of force policy that I did retype, I incorporated the New York State's use of force policy, which is the most widely accepted policy, that we only may have to tweak only a few words. So I have started that long process, and I am a good portion way through changing our rules and regulations. There was more changes that had to be done that has nothing to do with this committee. But figure while we're at it, we might as well make all these changes.
Right.
So we are in a good jump ahead. I think we are better than a lot of other places. If you read that article, Town of Newburgh, or City of Newburgh, I'm sorry. They have a much larger committee and many more problems than us. So the good thing is our committee didn't come up with 200,000 things to change, because we were in a good position before this even came about.
And we're not a city of Newburgh, thank goodness, in terms of the issues that they have to resolve.
Correct.
We have, Mark, and I don't know if you hear us, but we would like your help in any way you can to get the word out also. I know you probably can't respond to this, and I'll probably call you or send you an email later. But if you could, I don't know the best way to do an article or something like that to help us advertise this committee, and people's are free to give their feedback. So I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Joe. Great job. So Officer Sergeant Pascal will be there in your place
Mhm.
at the next meeting, Chief?
Yes, he's volunteered to Zoom into your town board meeting.
Okay.
And then
Just the
23rd.
ears, and maybe, if anybody does have questions, he can answer, hopefully he can answer them and gives the right direction, but yeah, he's gonna be there for you guys to do what you want to do with.
And so you can relay that, Howard, to Mark, right?
Yeah,
All that data. Appreciate
yeah.
it.
So the 23rd, we're going to devote a portion of that to public feedback regarding the police reform. And I can say Jerry has been doing an excellent, he has an excellent attitude on this. So it's been very enlightening, I'd say, for most of the other people on the committee. Because Jerry's very open and he doesn't get defensive about anything. So that's great. I appreciate that.
Well, you got a lot of acolytes there. Is your contract coming up pretty soon?
Absolutely.
Oh, my God. You paid
His
off?
contract's coming up. Oh, Howard, stop, Howard. Stop, Howard.
Way to go. Okay, so that being said, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, Ed. I know you're on the committee also. Moving forward, the new that we put the new business is for December the 28th. I think in the last couple of years, we have not had that meeting, and I would be in favor if we didn't have it. Just have the first meeting in December and then come back in January. What's the board's desire?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Need a
Second.
second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Good job. I do have some correspondence. Not many. Got about 15,000 pieces of paper. So, let me see. So the first one is, thank you, Danielle, for forwarding this. So the Census Bureau would just like to thank the town of Marlborough. As you know, we let them use the train station for their training, and they were very appreciative during because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So they were able to get some training done, and they would just like to thank the town of Marlborough for helping that come along. Thank you. There's a lot of hard work done with the census. I don't know what the percentage was for the Ulster County, but I don't think it was quite that impressive. Do you know, Tom? I think it was like in the 60 percentile.
Yeah,
I think so.
that was about right.
So that being said, thank you. And then I have a couple of things. Let me get the good one first. Then we're gonna have like the best dog park in the world. You got a email from another Girl Scout troop 60174. Lazar is her last name, Lazar. And she wants to actually come in front of the planning board. I schedule her for next meeting to improve exercise equipment for the small dog park. So we have somebody for the large dog park, and now somebody wants to do something for the small dog park, which I think is just great. And so she'll be in front of the town board at our next meeting. And I believe pretty soon the dog fountain will come in. And as you know, all that work for Charlie and John Alonji to put that water line in is completed. So we're on our way. Like I said, it's going to be a great dog park. It's a great dog park now. And I got, so this is one dated November. I should start with the October one, just to have this on record. I talked to the chief about it. This was something that Mr. Russ had sent to New York State DOT. It's thank you for your correspondence in the New York State Department of Transportation received on September 17, 2020. In your correspondence, you expressed your concerns with vehicles illegally parking on the shoulder of Route 9W and with motorists not complying with the newly established turn restrictions on the mobile Dunkin' Donut gas and food mart location at 1417 South US 9W. These two matters are enforcement issues and should be addressed by the local enforcement agency. New York State DOT will enhance the signing for the parking restriction on the east side, northbound of Route US 9W. This will serve to emphasize the restriction on both motorists and police and may generally increase compliance. Thank you for your interest in the support and support for the transportation system. If you have any questions or inquiries, please contact. And that was from Mark Morano, and it was copied to me and the chief. Subsequently, on November the 3rd, that was from October 27th. November 3rd letter, just got that in. It's dear Mr. Morano, thank you very much. This is from Mr. Russ. Thank you much for your letter of October the 27th, 2020. Especially appreciated. There's no other person to whom I address my letter response to the same. I do appreciate Department of Transportation willingness to enhance the signing for the parking restriction along the east side of Route US 9W. I also am requesting that you enhance the restriction for the left-hand turn into the site and out of the site. I've noticed that there are other enhancements such as reflective attachments affixed to the post of the signs, which would make them stand out more. For reasons unknown to me, the town has shown no interest in enforcing the no left turn into the site and out of the site. The Ulster County Sheriff's Department did initially make their presence known to reduce the number of illegal left turns, but even that has waned over time. And that's from John Russ. So I felt that I should read that. I talked to the chief about that. I don't know. So it's on record. Be transparent and open. So like moving forward on the agenda. Oh my goodness. Any public comments? No comment.
Yes, I have a public comment, if I may.
Okay, is that James?
Yes.
Yeah, James.
One of the things that I want to bring to your attention was many years ago, before I was a member of the planning board, there was a application for a bed and breakfast. And one of the issues that came up was one in which the people who were there were wandering off of the property. And I think one of the things that we need to look at is to make sure, whether it be a short-term rental or bed and breakfast, that there's a clear delineation of the property so that people who are renting just don't go wandering off into the neighbor's property. I think that's one of the things that I think also should be looked at besides just the parking. Thank you.
You're welcome, James. I'm aware of that situation. Like I said, in that situation, it went in front of the planning board. There was enough voice to, and there was a lot of things, circumstances with that whole application as far as private road and stuff like that. So that was a different different application, different purpose. And it was denied by the planning board. So in retrospect, what we were talking about is having the planning board have a public hearing, and if there's people that don't like it or there's some outstanding issues that the neighbors have, then the planning board will address it and they could deny the application. So that's the whole process.
I understand that, and I'm just bringing this one point, and I know about that other application.
I appreciate
But I
it.
wanted to bring out this one point about the delineation, and I gave Tom some suggestions for additional information that could be provided to the applicants. But I feel that in order to reduce conflicts and for the safety of the people and the neighbors, that there should be some kind of definition of the property so that we don't have that problem and we don't have people complaining about it.
I got it. I got
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay. So next is resolution. We had just one resolution, Resolution 76, to transfer funds. Supervisor Lanzetta proposes the following, whereas the town board needs to approve the transfer of funds. Be it resolved that the following be transferred, the monies received from the auction in the amount of $59,226 from the highway cash account. That's DA.0200 to the highway equipment reserve fund, DA.0230.004, and moves for its adoption.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Councilman Malinelli,
Yes.
Councilman Koenig,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Supervisor Lanzetta.
Yes, thank you very much, Colleen. So that being said, can you believe it's November already? My God,
Yep.
man. Anyhow, we need an adjournment. I don't know who would actually. Here you go.
Maybe I'll do it this month, like this time. How's that? Can I get one in? So, yeah, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Absolutely.
I
need a
second it.
There you
All in
go.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for all your hard work on that short-term rentals, Tom. Appreciate it.
Got it.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Good
Have
night,
a
all.
great day.
Have a good one.
Stay safe.
Good night.
Night.
Night.